all on to our second webinar that we are doing. We have with us Mansi Arora. She is doing her masters from Canada. And I request everybody to please mute your mics when she will be starting her presentation. And if you have any queries, please post on the chat. So she can look over the chat after her presentation and then she can answer. We would like to have a fruitful discussion with her. And I hope you will enjoy the presentation and you will learn few interesting things out of this presentation. So over to you, Mansi, please.
Thank you so much, sir. So I know like things are difficult right now, seeing the COVID situation and everything. Although it should not be demotivating for you guys to not to think about like if you really want to apply to coming outside India, you should definitely give it a try, no matter what. So I would like to thank like the juniors who provided me an opportunity to discuss whatever I faced in the past, and if there is any way my past experiences can help you guys to work on your future perspectives and to look into your future with a different point of view, I would be more than happy to help you guys. And I'm starting my presentation now. Just a second. Can you see it, sir?
Yes, yes, it's visible.
So one of the important aspects of taking a higher degree is to start preparing early for it. Like we all think that time management is important and multitasking is important to see like managing different kind of uh, work like job, your higher studies during your final year is equally tough. So first of all, managing time is actually a myth. You just prioritize your work. Say I have a submission tomorrow. Obviously I'll not go and look around for applying for jobs or anything else. If I have a deadline tomorrow, my first priority would be to finish off that work which has to be submitted tomorrow, no matter what, be it your holiday homework in school, be it your assignments and the projects in colleges, be it like if you have an exam the very next day. So your first priority should be first come first serve should be your priority. So whatever you have in your platter, you just have to divide your time, what is important at what point of time in your life, and you should work towards it. Then you do your homework right. By this I mean to say you have to be well read and well researched about what you wish to apply for, where you want to land up in future, how you want to proceed to, like you should have that kind of mindset while working towards it. And your final year is like I felt it in the beginning, like the final year seemed to be more relaxed and free because you didn't have that much of classes. You had more time to spend with your friends, and the feeling that you are leaving the college, that subsides inside you. But the side by side, it's wise that you keep exploring things on the internet is a very good resource of whatever you want to read about. And you should be active, like whenever you are free, okay, you are having tea in the evening, you are sitting with your friends, try to make a conversation within your friends, try to make the discussion out of it, like what are your future goals, what you are planning to do ahead. You wish to apply for a specific university, or you wish to leave India and go to a specific country, or you are applying for a job. You should discuss it with people. The more you discuss, the more ideas and opinions you get about it. And so this is a small workflow that I created for you guys, so that it's easy for you to understand. So pursuing a degree away from home is not easy. Just merely landing in a country, there are like, it's two different journeys. Preparing for landing in a country and what you have to do after you land in a country. There are two different aspects like of the story. First of all, you have to decide your stream of studies. Say you are from electronics background, you have to decide what specification in electronics or electrical sciences you want to pursue ahead. You are from biotech, you want to go for industrial biotech, you want to go for food biotech, or you are in bioinformatics. Bioinformatics, maybe you, if like if you want to go for structural bioinformatics, you want to go for genomics, or specifically cancer study, oncology studies. You just have to. So the more you read about it, the more informed you will be, and you will be able to make an educated decision about your career. So this should depend on your personal interests and your previous work experience, like your internships, your trainings, and you should talk to the faculty there. They are they are a lot more experienced than we are. They have seen at least 100 times the things, the difficulties that we have seen. So it's always um, good to discuss with them what their opinions are about it. Then once you have decided, like, okay, say the biotechnology is my field of study, and I want to go, I want to get into, say, nutrition sciences, then I would prefer seeing which countries have more scope of a specific career prospect, which countries are more involved, which countries have more funding for a specific kind of program. Like, and it should also depend on the average tuition fees, the cost of living, jobs perspective, like what kind of jobs are available in a specific country, and whether or not you want to settle outside India or not. It's very important, because if you are investing so much of money, say 30 lakh, 40 lakh rupees, if you are investing, you should get a return of that amount, of your time, your energy, and the parents' money or your money that you have invested. So it's very important. Be it like, if you take a loan, you have to, and if you are most of the countries outside India where you go has a currency which has a higher value of money than Indian rupees. So if you plan to India, you should be like, you should work in a different country for at least a couple of years, earn some money, and then come back, because you are leaving India with your Indian currency. You are investing money in, say, foreign currency, say US dollars, and you are coming back and then earning Indian currency. It's not worth it, since if you do the conversion, you have spent a lot of amount. So it's always wise, even if you don't want to settle in a specific country for long term, you should always focus on what are the job aspects there for your field of study. Say some countries are very good for the computer science background, some countries are very good for biotechnology. So you should focus on all those point of view.
Mansi, sorry to interrupt you. Just a moment. HOD sir has joined actually, so I would like to welcome sir. Webinar is going on already. So thank you for joining us, sir.
Hello. I think I.
Hello.
Audible to sir? Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, sir.
Please.
Okay. So then once you have decided on the country that you want to visit, or you want to pursue your higher studies in, then you should shortlist universities in those countries. These 2-3 processes, they are simultaneously active. Like like I eliminated, for as far as my experience is concerned, I had eliminated UK and Switzerland completely, because of the fact that the tuition fees was very high. So stuff like that, like you should, once you start making your own notes, once you start exploring which universities you might be interested in, you'll get to know where and how you would fit in. So university shortlisting can depend on your profile, like with your CGPA, with your background, your work experience, what range of universities can you fit in. I would suggest, if you have a higher GPA, say you have 8.5 and above, you should definitely focus on the top 100, the world ranked top 100 universities. You should try not to go beyond it, because if you are leaving your country, you should always land up in a really nice university to get a good quality of education. And once you have shortlisted a couple of universities, you might have 10 or 20 universities in your hand. You should try to see how good you may be into a specific program. Like my university, there is no specific department of bioinformatics, but it's more of a collaborative program between 10 or 12 departments, so stuff like that. And then you have to see for your eligibility whether you will be able to do that program or not. Also, you have to decide what type of program you need to decide on: thesis based, non-thesis, and applied research. So thesis based is core research, and you'll be having maybe 6 or 7 courses throughout your 2 years of the program, and rest of your credits will be for your thesis work. So most of the time, like 90% of your time, you'll be spending in the lab working towards it. And it's not like that after you have taken a thesis based course, you might want to continue to a PhD. You can even shift back to working in a firm or in an industry. So it's always back and forth. And the non-thesis courses are generally, non-thesis courses are not funded until and unless you take an additional project and help some professor out separately. Thesis courses are usually funded because you are returning something back to the lab, and they have grants from, like in India we have DBT is there, DST is there, ICMR are there. So stuff like that. They are separate government bodies which function individually, and they fund the professors for their projects. So thesis based courses are always usually funded, at least in health sciences and research. The third option is applied research. Applied research is usually masters in applied sciences. It has almost 50-50 content for your thesis work and your, so if you are still confused whether you would want to go for a research based course or a non-research based course after your the masters, like if you are not sure, it's easier to go for an applied research project. But you have to shortlist, because not all universities provide MASC program. Mostly they are MS, which is Masters of Science, thesis or non-thesis. So, and there are M engineering also. So since our field, biotechnology and bioinformatics, they are mix of multiple streams. So some people choose to select M engineering, which is masters in engineering in biomedical sciences, biomedical engineering. So there are like every universities have different kinds of courses which you should explore and should be well informed about. Then after you have shortlisted the universities and their programs, it's 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 more of, you should see whether you are eligible for a program or not. Like they have some courses, they prefer students with a BSc instead of a BTech, and some courses they want a 4-year bachelor degree from India. So you have to see Indian degree requirements for those specific universities and the specific programs. Then the most important thing for you to leave India and settle outside or study in a foreign university is your finances. How will you be, whether it will be self-funded, like you can also work for a couple of years if you have a really good job offer, say 8 lakh per annum, 12 lakh per annum. If you have a good job offer, you can also work for a couple of years and then you can fund yourself. I've seen people doing that here. And also you can take a loan from the banks, or your parents can fund you completely throughout your degree. So there are multiple options that, since, and also you should openly discuss to your parents about the budget of your degree. I know it's a very awkward kind of a conversation to have with them, since they are not, they'll just say you to go for it, but you should somehow get to know what your financial needs are, how far you can expand your finances, since once you come here you'll be having a lot more expenses that you have actually expected, because you'll be having living expenses as well, you'll be having and you'll be going out for trips and all, because you'll you'll feel homesick here, you'll feel a lot homesick here, because you won't have a lot of Indian friends around. Maybe like, maybe you can have a friend circle where you don't have any Indian friends. So there are a lot of foundations once you come outside India. So finances is most important thing. Then according to that, you should see the tuition fees of the different universities. Usually the, like around the globe is divided over North America, which is US and Canada. Then it's Europe, which is usually the costliest, and it's then third one is Australia. So there are, I know people who ended up in Australia, I know people who ended up in Europe. So it depends, like whether you have a scholarship or not, whether the course is a 1 year masters or a 2 year masters. That's also one of the things to consider. You can also apply for a direct PhD, which is really tough hailing from India, because they don't consider a 4 year bachelor's of India. Like if you have an integrated MTech, or if you have bachelor's plus a couple of years of job experience, you can go towards that. And for scholarship, you should see scholarships given by India or scholarships given by the government of the country where you are going. And there are a few internal fellowships also which you can apply. So these applications, like if you're joining for fall semester, which is from September, so these deadlines are usually in March and April of the same year. So chances are high you might not get funded for the first year, and you might get funded for the second year. But you have to weigh out the risk, whether you are like, are you financially stable enough to take that risk in future, that you can manage your expenses for 1 year, and you can manage your expenses for the next year as well. If you don't get funded, you just have to weigh out all those stuff. And the last but not the least, you have to see whether you have the specific program requirement or not. Some programs, they do not require GRE, some programs they do need. Also US, mostly programs in US, like if you are aiming for really good ranked university, they might ask for subjective GRE as well. So you have to appear for 2 exams in GRE. One can be general, one can be subjective. And no matter what, you have to get your scorecard for any of your English papers, which can be TOEFL or IELTS. So it depends. TOEFL is, as far as Europe is concerned, TOEFL is more accepted. As far as US and Canada is concerned, TOEFL and IELTS both are equally considered. And it depends on the university ranking. Some good ranked universities, they set the cutoff criteria as 100 for TOEFL. Some might consider as 88. So it depends completely on department to department within a university also, and whether there are any additional languages that you might have to learn. Like my university, it supports French, and Germany, you have to learn German. So in case you are planning for such language dominant countries, you might have to, like, if you have time, if you are free, you should, don't focus on it explicitly. Like if you have time, if if you are for sure you have decided you want to land up in, say, Germany, you should definitely learn German beforehand. Then these are some miscellaneous points which I thought about, which I could not fit in there. So you should be clear about the type of program that you have to select, that you are planning to go for. Then you have to plan the timeline for your admission. Like we usually have two terms for every session, which is fall, which begins in September. Then second one is a winter, which begins in January. Apart from that, there are like very few selective programs for which the course begins in summer as well. Summer is a May session. So usually sessions here are divided over 4 months of time gap. So, and are you, first of all, you have to convincing yourself rather than convincing your parents, convincing your or anybody else. It's more important than you convince yourself to go through it, because for sure you won't be able to see your old friends and your family for like really long. You will be in a once you land here, you'll get a good culture shock that, oh, okay, this is not how we live, this is not how we are. So stuff like that. And last thing of this presentation is counseling and assistance. So how good are these paid counselors? Personally, I did not feel, I tried exploring. I went when I was in JUIT, I went to Chandigarh and I explored with one of my friends. But frankly, because their main objective is to get the student in a good university. They don't care which university it might be. So personally, I felt that they were suggesting me universities way in way lower ranks than I had expected to get an admission into. So I prefer to explore everything by myself. I prefer to read everything by myself. And you should have a timeline in your mind. Say, if you're planning for fall session, you should prepare for TOEFL for a month or so. You should prepare for GRE for 3 to 4 months, and then you should proceed through it. So that's like all in all, that's how you should be mentally prepared to do it. Once you have the will to do it, obviously you will certainly be successful. That's all I have to say about your journey coming outside. Hello? Yeah, sir, I'm done. If you like external internships or external projects, one of them is mandatory, I think, by end of your third year, which you have to do as by default. So you can mention that. Apart from that, you can mention your the minor projects that you have done within your courses. Like you have, like we have had a biomedical image analysis. Then we had projects in all of the Tiyadrat sir's subjects as well. So all, like every course, then you can mention your final year thesis work in detail. So I think that there are like a lot of people who don't have more than 1 or 2 internships. So that's completely fine. You just mention the smaller projects that you have worked within your courses also. That should also be fine for someone to get an idea about what work you have done previously. And I have so another question is, aren't some countries over there like Germany and Norway offer free tuition? The English programs offer. Okay, so yes, that is right. So Europe, it's like on an average, Europe tuition fee is costlier than North America or Australia. I just said it in general. Obviously, Germany is one of the cheapest countries to study in, because they this was like 2 years till couple of years back they used to provide free tuition, but you have to explore the like your cost of living as well, because their currency is higher. So it's all in all, you just have to make an estimate how long you want to live in a country, and how like if you are residing outside the city, you'll be residing within the city, so your rent and everything will change accordingly. So you have to consider all those aspects for seeing how well you can finance yourself. So everything is worth it if you make something good out of it. That is true. Then what is the procedure of eligibility for applying or getting a scholarship? So there are a few programs where you are provided entrance scholarships based on, like you don't apply separately for it. Once you have filled in an application for any of the program, like for MS or for M engineering, it depends on university to university and program to program. Like if they feel that you have a good profile, they can fund you by themselves. Other applications are when you explore the the university's website. There are a few scholarships which are for existing students. Like when you move from your first year to second year, there are few scholarships for which you have to apply separately. So if that's the case, then you have to see for those deadlines and then make an application. But most of the scholarships, they want that you should already have an existing offer from a department at the specific university. And what's the proper way? So I have another question. What's the proper way and content that we must put in a good letter of motivation? So, okay, a letter of motivation and or your this thing, statement of purpose. It depends on, like, you have to structure it very nicely, and you have to make the reader more the reader should feel involved in your essay. So your past experiences, like where the first point in life, be it your school, be it your college, the first point in life where you felt that you are so meant to be for this kind of specific field, or where you want to proceed ahead in life. So you just have to order it chronologically, like this you did so and so, then you did something else, then it led you to take more experiences in a course, in a program, then what courses, what subjects interested you during your college, and how versatile your profile was, what all, how and all steps, what all steps did you take for you to land up there where you currently are, and what are, and towards the end, you should always praise the university that you are applying to, that, oh, okay, I'm applying to such a prestigious institution, such a um, which is like from where I can get a good experience out of this, and what you want to donate to the university in terms of your knowledge. Why are you so relevant for that specific program, and what you can return back to the society, since you're working in health sector? What can you return back to the society, to their country? So stuff like that, like in one line, two line, you just have to describe. And an ideal SOP, so always check out how long the SOP has to be for a specific application. Some if there is no length of the SOP is mentioned, it's wise to make it 2-page long. And if it has to be 1 page, they'll of course mention it. If it's not mentioned, it should be no longer than 2 page. I feel that. So I think that should be fine.
Okay, Mansi. Now I can see HOD sir. Please, sir. Welcome, sir, and we want to hear from you.
Thank you, Dr. Tirthraj. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, sir.
Thank you, Mansi. How are you?
Everything is good.
I'm very happy to see you, and but unfortunately, I could not see yours this webinar. But I attended your this question answer session.
Okay.
Later on, I saw that my Zoom setting was on safe driving mode, because somehow it was there. But though I am not driving, but it was still safe driving. I'm sorry for that. But I'll try to catch up with your recording. As Khushi said that you had an excellent interactive session. I'm sure you should have. And thank you for joining. It's a great effort by Synapse also. And because when our students hear from you as an alumni, that is a great motivation. Even we learn from you, because you are at present doing something in the foreign universities, and you are actually educating all of us. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting.
And you know, sir, it's almost I think 2:30 a.m. in the night in her place.
Oh, that's great on part of you, Mansi. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Any other queries we have from students? I think Utkarsa, can you hear me? MSc student can also ask.
So for MSc students, I feel it's more of a personal, like you approach the supervisor directly beforehand. You email multiple supervisors. You like we have to like now everything is by Zoom interview, whether you are outside India or you are in India. So it's all the same now. So it's an added advantage because they look out to hiring Indians, because Indians are like, it's a perception here that Indians are very hardworking and they won't object to the project proposals. They would, blend in with the lab work and everything well, and they can produce more results efficiently than um someone who is not from India or Asia. So, like, we do have a good chances for applying to a PhD, but always we have to approach the supervisor beforehand, like maybe 6 to 8 months in advance, so that we have enough time for our visa process and everything. And then they have to interview us, they have to interact with us, so we know what projects their lab is actually working on. And they'll also ask about our background. So all in that email we should always attach the SOP, all our previous transcripts, undergrad and masters, and our the letter of a motivation, or the statement of purpose. So these three things should be there for sure. And your academic CV. So academic CV has to be detailed, like whatever projects you have done, whatever seminars, webinars you have given, whatsoever smallest thing that you did, any conferences that we took part in, everything should be there for academic CV. If you're applying for a job, then you have a page limitation. For academic CV, we don't have a page limitation. I think you can get that.
So,
Okay.
so we have one query from MSc student Mansi.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's feasible to obtain
Utkarsa has
6
written,
months.
so you can
6 months training in a foreign university. It is people like, we have students here who come on exchange programs, but exchange programs are usually based on the fact that there has to be MOU, or memoranda of understanding, which has to be signed between the two universities. So that's the concept of a student exchange program. So there are students from Australia, there are students from Germany, and other universities also who come. For India, it's little difficult to find a 6 months training, because they, for like after masters, they are looking for hiring students full time. So you can obviously, like, when you are mailing the professor, you can always write that it would be great if I can get a 6 month opportunity, or if you have a short term project on which, maybe not 6 months, a 1 year project maybe, where they can hire you as a research associate or something like that. Then once you are here, then you have an opportunity to visit other professors, to talk to them in person, and then you get into a PhD. That's also one of the options. So people do that, but make sure that for like after your master's, if you're trying to come here on 6 months training or 12-month training, you should be funded, because once you are here, it gets different. Eventually it gets difficult to finance yourself, to fund your resources once you are not in a degree program. If you are in a degree program, you have taken a loan, you'll get a job eventually, you'll end up getting furnishing that loan eventually. But right, since it's a 6 month training, you're not sure what to do next. So it's a like 50-50 chance. You might get something, you might not get something.
Okay, so I think we have ended up with queries. Students, I just want to share with you that Mansi was very sincere with her studies. She worked with me also in her 3rd year minor project, and she was always very much sincere with the studies she was doing. And that's what she wanted to tell you also, that whenever you are studying, you should be sincere with your minor work also, even it's a small project, or try to formulate your problems into a minor project form. So that will enhance your capability for CV also, that you can include every time in your CV. Use the lockdown period, like don't take it negatively. You can start writing a review article, read multiple articles, then start writing like an abstract kind of thing from it, and make a review article out of it. Having good publications is always an added advantage whenever you are applying for masters or PhD abroad, and that's what always required. So I suggest you to be sincere with everything, whatever you are doing. Learn from your seniors, our alumni who are always there with us. And if I can see there is one more query or not? No, I think.
No.
Chavi is there? Chavi, can you hear
Yes,
me?
yes, sir.
So Chavi, I would like to request you to conclude the session. You know, Mansi, Chavi is our secretary for the sign-ups this year.
Okay, sir.
So this team is actually very dynamic. This time we selected a wonderful team. So we have Khushi, we have Sugam as president, we have Jigyasa, we have MSc student like Utkarsa and other students are also there. Manoj is there, Rahul is there. Then Chavi is the secretary. So I request her to please conclude the session. And thank you very much for the wonderful presentation and informative talk.
Thank you, ma'am. Your session was really motivating and inspiring. You told everyone all the basic necessities one require to plan for a foreign study. Also, I thank our respected faculty and students who joined this session. And thank you, ma'am, for joining and helping us out our
Thank you
way
so
to
much.
how.
My pleasure to help you.
Thank you, ma'am.